Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the dusty, sun-baked world of ancient Egypt, where the Nile flows lazily past towering pyramids and the air shimmers with heat mirages that dance across endless desert sands. You can almost feel the warm stone beneath your feet as you walk through the narrow streets of Memphis, where the scent of incense mingles with the yeasty aroma of freshly brewed beer wafting from every corner. The reality check here is simple. If you lived in this time, you'd probably be dead by 30 from some ailment that your doctor would have treated exclusively with fermented barley, and you'd have been grateful for it. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight, so drop your location and local time in the comments below. Now, let's find that cozy spot, pull a blanket around you, and gently drift into tonight's calm adventure. You find yourself standing outside a modest mud brick house along the banks of the Nile, sometime around 2500 BCE. The morning sun casts long shadows across the earthen floor as you watch an ancient Egyptian physician named Khaemosset prepare for his daily rounds. His weathered hands move with practiced precision as he arranges his medical supplies: rolled papyrus scrolls covered in hieroglyphic prescriptions, clay jars filled with various herbs, and most importantly, several large amphorae of beer in different stages of fermentation. The first patient arrives before the heat becomes unbearable. She's a young woman named Nebet, clutching her stomach and wincing with each step. In our modern world, you might recognize her symptoms as a simple case of gastritis, perhaps brought on by eating spoiled fish from yesterday's market. But here, in ancient Egypt, Khaemosset approaches her condition with the accumulated wisdom of thousands of years of medical tradition, all of which points to one primary remedy: beer. You watch as the physician carefully examines Nebet, his fingers gently probing her abdomen while he asks detailed questions about her pain. The diagnostic process is surprisingly thorough. He inquires about her diet, her sleep patterns, even the color of her urine. But regardless of what he discovers, you already know what's coming. From your vantage point, you can see him mentally calculating the proper beer prescription, considering factors like the patient's age, weight, and the specific nature of her ailment. The beer Khaemosset prescribes isn't the clear, filtered beverage you might be familiar with today. Ancient Egyptian beer was thick, porridge-like, and often cloudy with suspended particles of grain. It was typically between 2 and 4% alcohol, making it safer to drink than the often contaminated water that flowed through the irrigation channels. The brewing process involved partially baking barley bread, then crumbling it into water and allowing wild yeasts to ferment the mixture over several days. As you observe the preparation of Nebet's medicine, you notice the incredible attention to detail. Khaemosset adds specific herbs to the beer, perhaps some fennel for digestive issues, or maybe a pinch of coriander for its antimicrobial properties. He stirs the mixture with a wooden spoon, muttering incantations under his breath. The ritual aspect of the medicine is just as important as the physical components, and the doctor understands that healing involves both body and spirit. The prescription is surprisingly specific. Nebet must drink exactly 3 cups of the medicated beer over the course of the day, with the first cup consumed immediately upon waking, the second at midday when the sun reaches its highest point, and the third just before sunset. She must face east while drinking the morning dose, south for the midday portion, and west for the evening cup. The directional requirements aren't arbitrary. They align with ancient Egyptian beliefs about the movement of the sun god, Ra, across the sky and the body's corresponding energy patterns. You follow Nebet as she makes her way home, carrying her clay jug of medicinal beer. Her house is small but comfortable, with thick walls that provide relief from the intense heat. The interior is dim and cool, with small windows positioned to catch the prevailing breeze from the river. She settles onto a woven mat and takes her first prescribed dose, the bittersweet liquid coating her throat as she swallows. Interestingly, from your modern perspective, you can see that Camwaset's prescription actually makes quite a bit of sense. The beer provides hydration in a form that's less likely to cause further digestive upset than plain water. The alcohol content, while minimal, does have mild antiseptic properties. The herbs he's added have been used for centuries to treat stomach ailments, and modern research has confirmed that many of them do indeed have beneficial effects on digestion. As the day progresses, you witness the broader context of Egyptian medicine. Beer isn't just prescribed for stomach problems, it's the foundation of virtually every medical treatment. A construction worker arrives at Camwaset's house with a nasty cut on his forearm, sustained while hauling blocks of limestone for a new temple. The doctor cleans the wound with, you guessed it, beer, then applies a poultice made from ground herbs mixed with, naturally, more beer. The rationale behind using beer for wound care becomes clearer as you watch the process. The alcohol provides antiseptic properties, while the acidity helps prevent bacterial growth. The thick consistency of the beer also helps the herbal poultice adhere to the wound, creating a protective barrier against infection. The patient is instructed to clean the wound daily with fresh beer and replace the poultice, a process that will continue until the cut has healed completely. You observe the meticulous record-keeping that accompanies each treatment. Camwaset carefully documents every prescription on papyrus scrolls, noting the patient's symptoms, the specific beer recipe used, and the expected timeline for recovery. These records will be preserved for future reference, contributing to the ever-growing body of medical knowledge that Egyptian physicians share with their colleagues. The afternoon brings a steady stream of patients, each with their own unique ailments, but all receiving variations of the same basic treatment. An elderly man complaining of joint pain receives a special beer infused with willow bark, which, unbeknownst to the ancient Egyptians, contains salicin, a compound closely related to aspirin. A young mother worried about her baby's colic is given beer mixed with dill and caraway seeds, both of which are known to have antispasmodic properties that can help soothe digestive discomfort. As the sun begins its descent toward the western horizon, you accompany Camwaset on a house call to see a wealthy merchant who's been suffering from what appears to be a severe headache. The merchant's home is significantly larger and more luxurious than the modest dwellings you've seen earlier, with colorful wall paintings depicting scenes from Egyptian mythology and furniture inlaid with precious metals. The treatment for headaches follows the same beer-based protocol, but with added refinements befitting the patient's social status. The beer is of higher quality, brewed from the finest barley and flavored with imported spices. Camwaset prepares a special mixture that includes beer, honey, and powdered willow bark, creating a sweet, potent medicine that the merchant must drink while lying in a darkened room with cool cloths placed over his eyes. You notice how the physician's approach varies depending on the patient's social class, but the fundamental reliance on beer remains constant. Whether treating a slave, a craftsman, or a noble, the core of Egyptian medicine revolves around this fermented grain beverage. The differences lie mainly in the quality of ingredients and the elaborateness of the preparation rituals, but the underlying medical philosophy remains unchanged. As evening approaches, you find yourself in Kaimwaset's home, watching him prepare for the following day's patients. His wife, Ankisa Neiman, assists him in brewing fresh batches of medicinal beer, each one tailored to specific ailments. They work together in comfortable silence, their movements synchronized from years of practice. She grinds herbs while he monitors the fermentation process, occasionally tasting the beer to assess its progress. The brewing process itself is fascinating to observe. They begin by soaking barley in large clay vessels, allowing the grain to germinate for several days. Once the barley has sprouted, it's dried and ground into a coarse flour. This flour is then mixed with water and formed into loaves, which are partially baked in a clay oven. The half-baked bread is then crumbled into water, where wild yeasts begin the fermentation process. Different ailments require different brewing techniques. For digestive problems, the beer is fermented longer, creating a more acidic product that can help balance stomach pH. For wounds and infections, the beer is brewed with additional herbs known for their antimicrobial properties. For respiratory ailments, aromatic herbs like mint and eucalyptus are added during the brewing process, creating a beer that can be both consumed and inhaled as steam. You spend the night in the physician's home, sleeping on a simple reed mat beneath the stars. The house is built around a central courtyard, with rooms opening onto the open space. The design provides natural ventilation, and the night air carries the sounds of the Nile, the gentle lapping of water against the shore, the distant calls of night birds, and the soft murmur of voices from neighboring houses. The next morning brings new patients and new variations on the beer-based treatments. A young scribe complains of eye strain from long hours copying hieroglyphic texts. Kaimwaset prepares a special beer infused with ground lotus petals, which the scribe must drink while also using diluted beer as an eye wash. The treatment seems unusual from a modern perspective, but the lotus petals contain compounds that can help reduce inflammation, and the gentle acidity of the beer might help clear minor eye infections. A farmer arrives with a persistent cough that's been troubling him for weeks. His treatment involves drinking warm beer mixed with honey and ground figs, while also inhaling steam from a pot of hot, herb-infused beer. The combination of internal and external applications reflects the Egyptian understanding that many ailments affect multiple body systems simultaneously. You begin to understand the sophisticated medical theory underlying these seemingly simple treatments. Egyptian physicians didn't just randomly prescribe beer for everything. They had developed a complex understanding of how different brewing methods, herbal additives, and consumption patterns could affect various bodily functions. Their medical potpourri contained detailed instructions for treating dozens of conditions, most of which involve beer as either a primary treatment or as a vehicle for delivering other therapeutic substances. The social aspects of Egyptian beer medicine become more apparent as you observe the interactions between physician and patients. The act of sharing a prescribed drink creates a bond between doctor and patient, establishing trust and reinforcing the healing relationship. Patients often bring their own vessels to hold their medicinal beer, and these containers become treasured possessions, sometimes passed down through families as symbols of healing and recovery. As the days pass, you witness the seasonal variations in Egyptian medical practice. During the annual flooding of the Nile, when the river deposits rich silt across the farmlands, certain herbs are unavailable, and beer recipes must be adjusted accordingly. The flooding also brings increased risk of waterborne diseases, and physicians respond by prescribing stronger, more heavily fermented beers with higher alcohol content and more potent antimicrobial herbs. The summer months present their own challenges. The intense heat makes fermentation faster but less predictable, and physicians must carefully monitor their brewing processes to ensure consistent potency. They develop techniques for storing beer in cool, underground chambers, and they learn to recognize the subtle signs that indicate when a batch has spoiled and must be discarded. You accompany Cain-Wasset to a gathering of physicians from across the region where they share knowledge and discuss new developments in beer-based medicine. These meetings are surprisingly sophisticated, with detailed discussions of brewing techniques, herbal combinations, and treatment outcomes. The physicians maintain careful records of their successes and failures, gradually refining their understanding of how different factors affect patient recovery. One particularly interesting case involves a young woman who has been suffering from recurring fevers. Her condition has puzzled several physicians, and she's been treated with various beer-based remedies without success. Cain-Wasset proposes a novel approach. Instead of trying to treat the fever directly, he suggests supporting the body's natural healing processes by providing a carefully balanced beer that includes herbs known to boost overall vitality. The treatment involves a complex brewing process that takes nearly a week to complete. Special grains are soaked in Nile water during the dark of the moon, then fermented with a culture of wild yeasts that have been carefully cultivated over several generations. The resulting beer is unlike anything you've seen before: thick, dark, and aromatic, with a complex flavor profile that includes hints of honey, herbs, and spices. The patient must follow an elaborate treatment regimen that involves not only drinking the medicinal beer, but also bathing in diluted beer solutions and inhaling vapors from heated beer infusions. The treatment is time-consuming and expensive, but the results are remarkable. Within 2 weeks, the woman's fevers have subsided, and her overall health has improved dramatically. This success story spreads throughout the medical community, and soon physicians from distant cities are traveling to learn Cain-Wasset's brewing techniques. The exchange of knowledge leads to new innovations in beer-based medicine, with each physician contributing their own insights and refinements to the collective understanding. You observe the training of new physicians, watching as experienced doctors pass on their knowledge to eager apprentices. The education process is long and demanding, requiring not only an understanding of human anatomy and disease patterns, but also extensive knowledge of brewing techniques, herbal properties, and ritual practices. Apprentices spend months learning to identify different types of barley, understand fermentation processes, and master the precise timing required for various brewing methods. The religious aspects of Egyptian medicine become more apparent as you witness the elaborate ceremonies that accompany certain treatments for serious illnesses. Physicians often conduct healing rituals that involve offerings to various gods, including Sekhmet, the goddess of healing and medicine. These ceremonies typically include the consumption of specially blessed beer, creating a powerful combination of physical and spiritual healing. You attend one such ceremony for a merchant who has been suffering from a mysterious wasting disease. The ritual takes place in a temple dedicated to Imhotep, the deified physician who served Pharaoh Djoser. The ceremony begins at dawn, with the patient and his family gathering in the temple courtyard. Cain-Wasset and several other physicians prepare a special beer using water from the sacred temple well, barley that has been blessed by the priests, and herbs that have been grown in the temple gardens. The brewing process itself becomes part of the ritual, with prayers and incantations accompanying each step. The patient participates in the ceremony by grinding some of the barley, symbolically contributing to his own healing. As the beer ferments over the following days, the patient remains in the temple, participating in daily prayers and consuming small amounts of previously prepared medicinal beer. The community aspect of healing becomes evident as you observe how the patient's recovery involves not just the physician and the patient himself, but also his family members, neighbors, and the broader community. Friends and relatives bring offerings of food and drink, creating a supportive environment that reinforces the healing process. The social bonds formed during these healing ceremonies often last for years, creating networks of mutual support that extend far beyond the immediate medical treatment. As weeks turn to months, you gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity and sophistication of Egyptian medical practice. What initially appeared to be a simple reliance on beer as a cure-all reveals itself to be a nuanced system of treatment that takes into account not only the physical symptoms of illness, but also the social, spiritual, and psychological factors that contribute to health and disease. The seasonal cycle brings new challenges and opportunities for medical treatment. During harvest time, when fresh grains are abundant, physicians take advantage of the opportunity to brew large quantities of medicinal beer, storing them in cool underground chambers for use throughout the year. The brewing process during this season is particularly intensive, with entire households dedicated to the production of various types of medicinal beer. You observe the careful selection of grains, with physicians examining each batch of barley for signs of disease or contamination. Only the finest grains are used for medicinal purposes, and are often subjected to additional processing to remove any impurities. The water used in brewing is equally important, and physicians have specific sources along the Nile that they prefer for different types of medicinal beer. The fermentation process requires constant monitoring, with physicians checking the progress of their brews multiple times each day. They've developed sophisticated techniques for controlling fermentation temperature and timing, using everything from buried clay vessels to specially designed brewing chambers that take advantage of natural temperature variations. As your time in ancient Egypt draws to a close, you begin to understand that the widespread use of beer in Egyptian medicine wasn't simply a matter of using whatever was available. Instead, it represents a sophisticated understanding of the relationship between nutrition, hydration, and healing. The physicians of ancient Egypt recognized that many illnesses were related to poor nutrition or contaminated water, and beer provided a safe, nutritious alternative that could be tailored to address specific health concerns. The brewing process itself had therapeutic value, providing patients and their families with a sense of participation in the healing process. The time required for fermentation created natural intervals for rest and reflection, allowing the body's natural healing mechanisms to function effectively. The social aspects of beer consumption helped maintain community bonds and provided emotional support during difficult times. The herbs and spices added to medicinal beer weren't chosen randomly. They were selected based on centuries of observation and experimentation. Egyptian physicians had developed an extensive pharmacological knowledge base, understanding which plants were effective for treating various conditions and how they could be best combined with beer to maximize their therapeutic potential. You witness the documentation process that preserves this medical knowledge for future generations. Physicians carefully record their observations, noting which treatments are most effective for specific conditions and how various factors, such as patient age, season, and social status, affect treatment outcomes. These records become part of the growing body of medical literature that will influence healing practices for thousands of years to come. The training system ensures that this knowledge is passed on accurately, with experienced physicians taking personal responsibility for educating the next generation of healers. The apprenticeship system creates strong bonds between teachers and students, fostering a sense of professional responsibility and commitment to the highest standards of medical practice. As you prepare to leave this ancient world, you take one final look at the bustling medical practice of Camwoset. Patients continue to arrive, each bringing their own unique combination of symptoms and concerns. The physician greets each one with the same careful attention, examining symptoms, consulting his papyrus scrolls, and preparing individualized beer-based treatments. The consistency of the approach is remarkable. Despite the wide variety of ailments in patient backgrounds, the fundamental principles remain constant. Beer serves as the foundation for virtually every treatment, but it's never used in isolation. Instead, it's combined with herbs, spices, and other therapeutic substances to create comprehensive healing regimens that address both immediate symptoms and underlying health issues. The afternoon sun slants through the windows of the physician's house, casting long shadows across the earthen floor. The scent of fermenting grain mingles with the aromatic herbs that hang in bundles from the rafters. The rhythmic sound of grinding stones provides a steady backdrop as assistants prepare the next day's medications. The scene is peaceful, purposeful, and surprisingly sophisticated, a testament to the advanced medical understanding of ancient Egyptian civilization. Your immersive journey through the world of ancient Egyptian medicine reveals a healthcare system that was far more complex and effective than modern stereotypes might suggest. The ubiquitous use of beer in medical treatment wasn't a sign of primitive understanding, but rather a sophisticated recognition of the therapeutic potential of fermented beverages. The Egyptian physicians had developed a comprehensive approach to healing that addressed not only physical symptoms, but also the social, spiritual, and psychological aspects of illness and recovery. The legacy of this beer-based medical tradition extended far beyond ancient Egypt, influencing medical practices throughout the ancient world and contributing to the development of modern pharmacology and nutrition science. Many of the herbs and spices used in ancient Egyptian beer medicine continue to be valued for their therapeutic properties, and modern research has confirmed the effectiveness of many traditional remedies that seemed purely superstitious to earlier generations of scholars. Standing here in this ancient healing space, surrounded by the tools and traditions of Egyptian medicine, you gain a profound appreciation for the ingenuity and wisdom of these early physicians. Their willingness to experiment, observe, and adapt their treatments based on patient outcomes created a medical system that served their communities effectively for thousands of years, leaving behind a rich legacy of knowledge that continues to inform modern understanding of the relationship between nutrition, lifestyle, and health. As the sun sets over the ancient Nile, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and gold, you reflect on the remarkable journey you've just experienced. The world of ancient Egyptian medicine, with its beer-soaked remedies and ritual healing ceremonies, seems simultaneously foreign and familiar. While the specific treatments may seem unusual by modern standards, the underlying principles, careful observation, individualized care, and holistic approaches to healing remain relevant and valuable today. The gentle lapping of the Nile against the riverbank provides a soothing soundtrack as you drift back toward the present, carrying with you the images and insights from this fascinating exploration of ancient medical practice. The memory of patient physicians carefully brewing their medicinal beers, of grateful patients following elaborate treatment regimens, and of a civilization that understood the profound connection between what we consume and how we heal, lingers in your mind, like the lingering taste of honey-sweetened barley beer on a warm Egyptian evening. If you enjoyed this ride, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss what's coming next. I'd love to hear your thoughts on ancient Egyptian medicine in the comments below, and don't forget to tell me where you're listening from and what time it is in your part of the world right now. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive and your nights filled with wonder.